Welcome everyone to this live stream. In case we are finally live, tried already 5 times, talked 15 minutes with myself, so maybe this live stream is not the most amazing after having to say everything again. Also, first time I try this amazing new better studio stuff because the old stuff somehow didn't went live right now. Anyway, today's topic. So you have seen in the previous topics here this Ryzen build with LVM2. LVM2 meaning logical volume management. What that means actually is that in contrast to old-fashioned times when you had a partition and used this as a file system directly, which I have to admit I've done very long. I was extremely late to that party. Of course other people in Rock Linux have done this back in the day, but me personally not. Didn't really had this storage needs and whatnot. I had just local storage in Spark and SGI and whatnot. Anyway, eventually, but what I had was software RAID, and sometimes this was a little bit inflexible, and then I thought it is better to change this to something more modern. This is why since a couple of years actually, so not only we use this in production with, but again not with like storage, just like software build and machine learning and stuff like this. And even if there's something would fail, it's not the biggest deal, but honestly we didn't have so many problems. The first problem is now with this one, this Ryzen build, and this. How did I fail this? I've actually made a video about this, how this failed, and some other night, a couple of midnights ago. And what happened, so this is a 3-disk RAID 5 here with, again, everything LVM also. Why? Because this is using caching, SSD cache here, with there's an M.2 SSD there behind the heatsink, and there's graphic card only live on YouTube. That did not happen in the previous live stream, that didn't fail. Anyway, so destroying a cheap AMD entry-level card. Anyway, here live on YouTube. So what failed then? So I was actually, the disk didn't even fail, although the disk sucks. They are SMR, shingled magnetic recording, all this shingled nonsense, slow rewrite stuff, not amazing. But that's a topic for another video. This failed only because I was testing here QEMU KVM PCI path-through, and again, the more you test, the more you try, the more you test, the more you experiment, the more you fail and stuff, and learn and fail. And this failed because, ironically enough, with a cheap Matrox €5 card, there you see cheapskate saving on the wrong thing, but didn't really expect this, also the more testing and so on. So what happened, this Matrox card got stuck, and I have the same problem with this AMD card, that it doesn't post. I don't have the BIOS, which is really annoying, especially as I ideally want to run macOS in there, because can't really use Mac certainly for so many reasons. So mostly due to that, also for amazing YouTube videos and content with PCI path-through, which in general it works with this AMD, just I don't have BIOS post, and that is annoying. So with the Matrox card, it got stuck. There were PCI errors, PCIe transaction whatsoever, and so on, and then the whole PCI bus failed. So all the serial ATA buses, drives went away, and NVMe, and couldn't do anything certainly anymore except reset or pressing the power button, and did you try to switch it off and on again. So I did this a couple of times, not a huge deal, and it came back until like the 5th or 6th times, and then the write array didn't want to assemble again. And this is of course completely ridiculous. You have this fancy LVM2 stuff, and then on initRD early boot it doesn't assemble anymore. Of course completely useless. I really wonder what they are programming there at Red Hat through the Oracle and whatnot. Amazing stuff. Unfortunately, recurring theme here, that stuff is not the most amazing. macOS peak bugs and whatnot, and unfortunately LVM2, yeah, also not amazing. So you saw the errors. Also the errors were annoying, not like this something didn't reassemble or whatnot. It was just you can okay, check some failed here only live on YouTube. Not a surprise here. We have there some, anyway, I hope anyway this doesn't go away. I only want to copy here the data. So actually I got this after messing every other day for 3 days or 4 days, no, really annoying, each day couple of hours, completely waste of time. This is why I share this here. Also the original error message you can look up in the other YouTube video. You also see here failed to read superblock, something like that was the original error. Also quite don't really understand. So this just unsynced here corrupted the metadata in pure software. Ironically, when the PCIe bus went dead here with PCIe pass-through, complete unexpected, that it should be like a power outage, that nothing is written anymore. I have also not really an idea how this got there out of sync, but whatever. And the original error message that you can see in the other video was something like, yeah, failed to read superblock data, something, metadata out of sync, something, and then also, yeah, something like that, DM6 or 5 or 6 or something, probably 6, I guess, or also like device 500, 253 or 4 or something. And the error message was not even, in my opinion, and I really need to write a microkernel that's unbearable in the meantime, the error message should be like disk something whatsoever. I didn't even have a clue which disk, whatever, what was going on. I had to manually tinker around there with all the sysfs, symlinks and nodes and whatnot. And then I rebooted with this drive disconnected, with the other drive disconnected, and then this drive disconnected didn't change a thing, then the second drive, and then it actually reassembled, at least to that point that it boot. Because why did this not boot? Because the root is LVM2, so there is one logical volume for root, one for surf, one for videos, for my YouTube raw material stuff. And again, not amazing stuff. How could they program it so? Yes, it's out of sync, it's not amazing, but excuse me, a server system where you don't even, maybe you don't even have remote login in the initRD unless you have a special initRD with SSH running, is that this doesn't even come up. And then how stupid is it? You randomly plug out a disk because the error message is not even clear, not even for 20 years Linux veteran like me wasn't clear. And then you trial and error, yeah, 2019 you need to trial and error to recover your RAID and LVM2 array. And then with the second drive disconnected, it booted at least, and then ironically plugging it in, then it didn't complain like that in the initRD. Also stupid. Why does it assemble more when you just boot without the disk, plug it in? Long story short, I wasted 3 days by 2-3 hours, probably not joking, more than 8 hours with trial and error. Why did I do this? It is a test setup. This is why I didn't have a backup. Why do I not have a backup? Because it's mostly YouTube storage here, raw video material from the last 12 months. Nonetheless, this is why I also spent a couple of hours, because the data certainly was still there. And I said, yeah, it's not that important, but it would still be nice to have in case, not really sure if I need this to copy and paste something to a future video with some old reference. But again, nice to have, right? This is also why I don't really have a backup for. So anyway, why was this such a crap? Because you see here PVS, all the instructions were also highly unclear in my opinion. This is why I opened here a couple of stuff. So I'm not making this up. Other people have similar problems also with really failed disk. There is, like in old-fashioned multi-device stuff in software RAID that I used before in old-fashioned days 10 years ago, you could hot remove because RAID 5, RAID 1 could have failed. And one drive could have failed with 3 RAID 5, and in old-fashioned times you could have hot removed, hot added, and not a big deal, super easy peasy, totally no-brainer. But with this I also don't understand. Then people tell us use this LVM2, it's more flexible, more amazing, more modern code, device mapper and so on, yada yada yada, everything's more amazing. And you can't even hot remove a fucking drive here and hot edit again. It should be the most standard maintenance thing. Again, this was only one drive out of RAID 5. Why is this not PV remove, PV add, PV extend, and similar commands exist? There are like 300 commands, all do complicated stuff, and all do complicated stuff that doesn't really work. There is also move, so apparently you should use PV move, I guess, maybe, and then PV reduce and extend. So again, this PV reduce stuff didn't want to work for me. I didn't do this live on YouTube because 8 hours random tinkering and failing here certainly are not the most amazing. So this would have deleted the logical volumes on my side, only with like force you really want to do this. As a warning sounded like it would remove my precious data that I did not want it to do. And then apparently PV move should work, but then again I didn't have a spare drive, and even though theoretically I could have plugged in, because I'm using only 3 SATA or so maybe 4 SATA or something on a huge server where you have maybe 20 drives and all of them are occupied. Maybe you could also, not a more professional setup, have a spare drive just to move the stuff over, because this would be like PV create for physical volume, create PV move, and yeah, move from one to the other. And again, this sounded like it would reduce, delete the data here, and some stuff I even tried. You see here PV this right now, so this I actually tried to reduce this by this drive and write a new header. This made everything more complicated. So following all the Red Hat and whatnot suggestions, they made everything even more crappy, more corrupt, more annoying, because this ID here now, this J something, is only because I added this drive, this failed out of sync drive, again with a new physical volume header. Don't do this, messed everything up completely, because this is what I thought, PV remove, PV add somehow, but no. Well, after trying other 20 commands and reading all those random garbage here, right? And then, yeah, it doesn't find this drive, no surprise, because I've rewritten the header from the backup from that drive. And then right now it doesn't even want to do something anymore, because now it says don't do something because this one physical drive is not there. You know, shit, Sherlock. I mean, this is a huge clusterfuck in my opinion. It's ridiculous that with 20 years of experience, and again with MD RAID, software RAID of Linux, old-fashioned times, I didn't even had such an issue. And I hope, by the way, we are online, not that this failed here again. This is really also slightly annoying, this new stuff here. Does it even average? Watch time. Anyway, yeah, so a huge warning, if you get this in production, really test this. And yeah, this is my test setup, just that I have a little bit half valuable test data. Yeah, a little bit my fault. Also, by the way, lesson learned. By the way, did I already? Yes, I think I said this came up then with this drive plugged out, and plugging it, hot plugs this serial ATA in again. At that point of time, because I naively thought I can just PV remove, LVG reduce, whatever, this, and recover this in no time, no big deal, which again, the whole time. And under the other video I posted already others people mailing list inquiries and stories. I'm not the only one who having the problems. And again, there is not a clear command, and as it looks to me, this video reduce something would have deleted the valuable data for me. It would have wiped those logical volumes actually. Big lesson learned. First of all, this caching also makes this even more complicated. I think maybe it would have brought this online before already without this video metadata SSD caching stuff, so highly complicated stuff. In case of recovery, certainly, because not only this RAID spreads this over all the drives with SSD caching, you have their caching additional level of abstraction living there on your SSD. So make sure you really have a good backup. Also, my critique, why does really everything needs to suck? I don't want to make videos that everything sucks. I'm really sorry to say, it is a surprise for me. I could not expect that with MD RAID, MD ADM, it is a snap to hot remove, hot add. Should be super easy. With LVM2 it is not. I'm not making this up. Look on the other video, I've posted the other links. How to create this, by the way. So in old-fashioned times, what has changed? Why did I even do this? So in old-fashioned times, in a very old magazine article from 2008 here, a decade ago, to create old-fashioned was MD ADM software RAID, like here create MD0 RAID level 5 over those devices, and then add, for example, logical volume management on top of this, PV create MD0. This is completely old-fashioned. And what is new now is, new for a couple of years, I already made a video about this already, that PV create on those devices directly and makes the RAID. Maybe this is actually new since just a handful of years. So PV create there, that these are physical volumes, then create those, add all those together in a volume group with VG create, then LV create, type rate 1, RAID 5 terabyte or something, video name their video neural network, machine learning dataset something, volume group 0, and then this is RAID. Just be aware, error recovery is a pain in the ass. You for sure want to test this a couple of times in a virtual machine or something. I for sure will continue to experiment with this, because I've not yet managed to do this. I messed it completely up with all the complicated commands, the suggestions on mailing lists, on the documentation, on websites like Novell and or whatever that is, and Red Hat and whatnot. Not a paid advertisement, because they did help a shit. It only messed here everything even more up. Nothing of this stuff worked. Also, I wonder what is wrong with those developers here with PV Move. it's like, yeah, it's, you need a spare drive, right? And on top of, I also wonder, does this even fail? Because I also, the next fail is, now I have here this physical volume stuff that's not there anymore. This J something, I don't even find a command. This is not even used, right? This is not even allocated. What did I even PV? Not scan, display, right? So this is even, you see, this is total physical E, what was elements, something physical, VEs, whatever that E was standing for, allocation, PE size, what is it even? Extents, of course. Yeah, you see this is completely unallocated, completely free, because this was just my last resort here of removing the other, adding another for PV move. It didn't work. You can't even remove this apparently. I found no command for PV remove with a UUID, so it's always PV remove with remove PV, what PV remove, what did this, anyway. So there is only like device, there is not like UUID, I think. And if you do here something like PV remove physical volume remove this, it only says not device, SDB2 missing. Yeah, also you see the stuff that this was, now I get with all those commands trying to hot remove and this, now I get VG0 was previously updated while this SDB2 was missing. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, I plugged it out, plugged in, wrote a new physical volume block header on there with J for something, and now I have here the biggest mess on earth. Also, why did this stupid stuff allow me to add this new when now it's totally even more out of sync? It's a huge clusterfuck. I'm really sorry to say this. I'm not impressed. I really wonder why in 2019, the year of desktop server and everything Linux, this is still such a clusterfuck. And yeah, the rest is actually quite amazing. All of the stuff, RAID, caching, and all the flexibility. What is the flexibility? That now, instead of this old-fashioned software write or hardware write, this is on top. Of course, now you could flexibly add and remove, just that doesn't really work, at least in the case of error. Yeah, that part not the most impressed actually. And yeah, when it's too late, was it here by the way warning, unable to move, blah 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 blah. Config restore. Yeah, probably by the way, I used this VG config restore something when I overwrote the physical volume header there and then restored this back from config, but then it didn't assemble anymore, then it was even more borked. It's again, how did I recover this? And by the way, another thing that is not amazing, this by the way, it's probably not better if this is fault. This is probably because this is right now an degraded RAID 5 array that I only copy most of the data I can get out of there here, because here we started a dirty degraded array. Data corruption is possible. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. That is the best. And by the way, I'm really thankful and that I got this to work at all. What is, by the way, not amazing, what in general I never liked, since I updated this and experimented with this, I always didn't like that it printed here MDX. Initially, I wondered until I realized for all of the LVM2 RAID setups, it's printing X, which is totally confusing. Why can't they print out there the logical volume name? There you see monolithic kernel, million lines of code, and this is still not amazing. So for old-fashioned software write without LVM, you would have there MD0, MD1, and so on. And with any LVM2 software write, you have the MDMX for any, so you never know for what this is. You see here is one MDX. This is maybe this is video, I guess. The video logical volume, and there's another MDX, so you see totally confusing because everything is MDMX, one is recovered, one is here resynced done, whatnot, and then here's even the third, probably MDX the third, I guess, and these are the confusing numbers. These are at least halfway decent, MD29, MD23, and so on. These are all the huge stack of device mapper stuff internally of LVM2 there as a backbone of that in the infrastructure, LVM2 mapping this. And yeah, how did I do this there? I tried with all of those bloody commands, basically everything I googled together. I for sure tried 50 set of stuff over 8 hours or whatnot over 3 days. And the last thing then, I echoed here one in start dirty degraded, and for this I even modified the initRD, because this is certainly assembled in the initRD, and this is in this modules DM rate, this device mapper rate, and then parameters start. And for this to have effect, why is there not start? Should be in this or not. Anyway, you get the idea. In one of those it should be, or is it DM mod parameters start R? No, it's also not. Anyway, in one of those module parameters, that is that, and for that to have effect initRD, so then I VI here the NT2, this is initRD init, SPIN initRD init, and then MK initRD, our amazing keep it stupid simple and stuff, added as a echo 1 or echo 1. It's in there. Let's see, do we have here find that start dirty, what start dirty degraded, it's an MD mod. Where have I been? I have an MD rate, and where have I been? What I was in, was I not in MD mod? Was in there anyway. Whatever. So yeah, so this one, this should probably, so by default that is 0 certainly for data integrity. And I also didn't find any command like force. And by the way, why does this? Why do I need to edit the initRD? Why does it not work with VG change -AY? Yes, and all the parameters are also annoying. All this command line stuff like -A for activate. It's like, seriously, like, who can come up with this syntax? And why is there is force and force like -FF for force twice. Why do I need to edit and reboot? And I only found this, by the way, in the sources. So always pro tip, read the source code. Otherwise I probably would not have found this anyway. Then I would not, I'm copying all the data already, which is, by the way, not fast, because it's a spare atom NAS there for testing also. And yeah, copy, you see a 60 megabyte, not amazing on an Intel Atom. So yeah, for all the crypto, certainly crypto overhead for rsync over SSH. I hope you learned something. For one thing, do backups, and if you recover something and you are in a recovery phase and something still works or you got working, copy it immediately. I should have copied that even then earlier, just didn't have so much terabyte storage around, but anyway, should have. Found there's something, but yeah, lesson learned. Backups, recover early immediately, and then mess around. And also LVM2, super complex. It looks easy on the first glance here, creating this. We have many years old, also this already nearly 3 years. Basically, this is super simple, right? PV create, PV create, VG create, LV create, physical volume, volume group, logical volume. And then extend this later here, for example, SSD caching and yeah, type cache. This, by the way, changed earlier. This wasn't that easy. They changed this also a couple of years ago. And by the way, pro tip for SSD caching, you need SYN provisioning tools. Also, I really wonder, these are LVM2 tools, but for this caching, otherwise your cache will be rebuilt on each boot. So you need to have SYN provisioning tools, which are anecdotically written in C++ for all the C stuff that otherwise is always only C. So SYN, also I had to Google this, right? Of course it's packaged in Debian and whatnot, but initially I even wondered, why is my cache always resyncing, until I figured out that it needs this cache checking stuff here. And that is in SYN provisioning tools. I also wonder, why is this in SYN provisioning tools and not in LVM2 tools, in the regular LVM2 package. And also this is written with maybe even Boost. It's also a little bit funny and alien in all the Linux C stuff. Probably the authors of SYN provisioning and caching stuff here also were tired of open coding everything again and again in C. So yeah, some caching stuff and units that you see modern C++ code. Maybe more userland should have been written in C++, maybe more readable or something. Maybe leave me in the comments below. Do you think this low-level C stuff is amazing, or should it be C++? Or probably should be on average able to save like, if you code this in modern C++, I guess it should be 30% of the code, because you don't open code all of those, all the string modifications like string copy, string talk and whatnot, all this parsing. Certainly, maybe everything is more amazing in C++ or Rust. Leave me in the comments below, but Rust, of course, cargo and micro dependencies. Anyway, I hope you learned a ton. Be careful, backups, tinker, and also before you put something in production, really test this, test recovery. Nothing more annoying. Imagine this would be a Fortune 500 company administration and you did not have this recovery plan, which I still don't have, right? It still didn't really recover amazingly. And but I'm anyway really thankful that I apparently, looks like I get most of the video content. I hope it's not corrupt for the most part anyway. Certainly some of those videos better than no videos of this YouTube stuff. Hope you learned a ton, and as always, I'm always looking for your comments. Leave me in the comments what you think about this. Do you think this is amazing? If you know how to LVM2 hot remove and hot add to a RAID 5 array, again, I for sure need to test this more in QEMU virtual machines, which ironically PCI pass-through is what this destroyed this. Hope to see you soon. And don't forget to share, like and subscribe for all those videos and live streams to come.